Hello and welcome to another SolidWorks how-to video. In a previous video, we went through sort of this plate with holes and how to get it dimensioned, to get sort of the proper thing shown, get a hole call out on there. This video should be relatively short and sweet. This is going to get us some information into our title block and how we go about doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out and then come back in to my title block just so we can see it. Now, this is a default title block that came in with SolidWorks. And I actually have to say I'm used to a little older revisions of SolidWorks. This is a new install of 2025. And somewhere along the line, they added blocks with all of this information, which I absolutely love. Usually, I have to go in and create a custom title block with sort of this proprietary field and all of this other stuff. It's a thing that I have created in the past. It's a thing that I'll also go through a video in the future on how to do that, so you can sort of create your own. Um, but I'm absolutely in love with the fact that they've actually um, started including these in right in title block with all this information. It used to just be a blank grid where we could put some words. So that said, there are a couple of different ways to sort of get information in here. The simplest by far, if we come up to our annotation tab and click note. Note is basically going to, I've got the little box attached to my mouse now. Wherever I drop that, it's going to drop a text box and I can, drawing, if I drop it in the title, I can then just start typing drawing plate and click somewhere else. I now have, a title. That is um, sort of the simplest way to get things in here. Problem is it's sort of on now the same layer. SolidWorks doesn't necessarily do layers in the way that older CAD systems did, but for purposes of discussion, it's sort of on the same layer as everything else. So let's say I just screwed something up and I want to completely blow away everything I've done. If I just, get mad at it and select the whole sheet and delete, that means my title now went with it. And anything I had in there, I lost the dimensions. The model views stay when I do that, but I lost my title and I lost all my dimensions, which is what I intended to get rid of. But I also lost my title because it was just out there as a text box. So I'm going to undo that so I have my dimensions back. Control Z, Control Z. There we go. So it's certainly a thing. It is one way to get information. We can also click note again under finish, right? We could want this black oxide. And we can just keep adding notes just like that. But again, the same drawback when you select stuff to delete in your drawing, it goes with anything you delete. The better way is to come over here to the sort of feature manager for the drawing and the sheet format. If I select that and right click, I can edit the sheet format. Things turn blue. They turn blue because this is actually a sketch, like a 2D CAD sketch, like old school AutoCAD days. Notice I even have if I highlight, I get a center line. So I can, if I want to modify this title block, I can just on my sketch tab here, just start sort of drawing things, right? And it'll be part of my title block. I have mentioned in a previous video that I kind of like this setup nowadays, so I'm going to leave it alone as far as the layout goes. But this is where it's better to sort of add, if I come back over to annotations, add notes. This is where it's better to add those text boxes and things. And based on the way it looks like that SolidWorks drew this, it wants to put a leader in here, but I can always sort of type my title drawing plate here and just drag it down to where I want it. And I can do the same thing, add a note, for material, this one. And again, it's going to want to snap to the text. But if I get even somewhere just where I don't have a leader and just steal, so I can add again um, notes. And when I accept the changes up here in the upper right, it sticks with the title block. But now if I select everything, because it's sort of buried in the template now, I can delete and not lose any of that text, because even though I deleted the dimensions, I'm still doing a drawing for this part. So really the title block information hasn't changed. So I'm going to undo that just so that my dimensions stay where I want them. So we can go through by editing the sheet format, edit. We can add notes everywhere that we want. There is one further step that sort of greatly simplifies life when we're doing these drawings. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the notes that I put in and delete. Oh, there is an object here. Is that okay? That's typable. So this block comes with, I did not know that, sort of comes with pre-entered information. That's kind of cool. Let me escape out. I'm going to accept. I want to get out. The joys of stream of consciousness videos. Am I right? So that was, I think, bigger, but for now I'm going to leave it alone. And if I double click in there, did they have information? I don't see anything in the. So I'm going to go ahead and get out, and I suspect so the idea is there's a lot of information that we haven't talked about, or I haven't talked about in my videos yet. There's a lot of information contained in SolidWorks files that we haven't used yet, that I haven't touched on. And I can access that up in the upper left if I go to File and Properties. So I can define a whole bunch of stuff here. So author, put my name in, keywords, comments. I'll just give it a title for now, drawing plate, and hit OK. And if I go back now and edit this sheet format, so SolidWorks automatically has a text box here that I can click into. It looks like it's centered. We can use that, but that information in that file properties is the way that we're going to make our life simpler, because I can link that information directly into a note. So the way to do that, over on the left in sort of the note properties window, the second icon here under text format, and then we've got the center stuff. This sort of second icon is link to property. So if I click that while I'm editing, my cursor's in here and blinking, I can either select the current document or the model. Now, normally I prefer the model, but for now, since I only defined a title here, but I can. Current document means it's going to pull those properties, those file properties, directly out of that window that I just sort of populated. So if on the drop down, I can come down here and select title, and notice that drawing plate automatically popped in because that's what I told it to be. If I accept, get back out, right? It's automatically populated now. If I change that title, back up to file and properties, change that title to second title, just so we can see something change, it automatically updates. So that's a way that we can greatly simplify our lives. Like I said, prefer to link these to model properties. So I would do the same thing, switching back to my plate model. I would do the same thing. I can go to file and properties and set all of that stuff here. That way I don't actually have to do it in my drawing file. But again, for demonstration, perfectly fine. And we can go through this title block, and basically if I edit the sheet format, add those everywhere we kind of need to. So did they have a default one here? This is my first, they do. So if I highlight everything, these sort of boxes with the X's through are already blank text box. So I can click here, I can open it up to edit it. Double clicking gets me in, so my cursor's in there and blinking. It doesn't matter how big it is, unless we are really picky about centering the text and stuff. Like I could drag this out so that it's exactly here, lined up with the walls of this box, and it's, so that would give me perfectly centered text. I'm not too picky about that. But I can go back to link to property, and this is the material. So under property name, I may not be able to do it from a drawing. Does not look like that's a drawing property. So in this case, I would have to go to model and property name. I should be able to get. Okay, it's not one of the defaults. What about file properties? This allows me now to sort of open those up, set those. There's custom properties. So what I'm looking for Summary is where I've got the basic author, title, subject. Custom, I can add a whole bunch of other stuff. So I want to add, say, material, because I'm editing the material thing right now. The value, I can make that on. I can either type in steel, and I'll do that for now. Okay. Property name. Now I have material because I added it to the custom properties list. Okay, and I do want to make that text box bigger. So we'll make it as big as we have space for. So steel popped in there. I accept, I get out. I'm happy. So if I edit my sheet format, SolidWorks is being frozen at the moment. Why won't you let me right click? Let's go back here. I'm going to save that now that I've added a custom property. And there we go. Edit sheet format. So I'm going to click back in here, double click again, highlight it. I'm going to delete. So now the custom property is gone. As long as I don't delete that word steel, that would have updated anything I changed that property to in the properties window. But since I deleted it, I need to go back and link to property. I want to go back to the model, property name. I want to go to file properties because I want to change material. That's the name of it. So that's what it's going to pull in. I type steel, but I don't want to do that because one of the recommendations I made in a previous video about modeling is I recommend your model always has material assigned to it. The cool part is SolidWorks knows what that is. It's information that's in that file, and we can grab it automatically. So if I use the drop down here, I can go to properties and pick the very top one, SW material, and it will automatically pull in the material that I set that plate to be. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to, on the drop down, grab material and hit OK. Now it says not specified because I didn't, right? When I created that plate, I did not specify. So let's go here, back to my model, and actually on material, right click, edit, and I'm going to give it something other than steel just so that we can see it. Let's pick a complicated one. All right, AISI 316 annealed stainless steel bar SS. Apply that material. Save this part. Notice the appearance even changed because stainless steel has a different appearance than sort of the SolidWorks default gray. Now, if I go back to my drawing, I don't really have enough room. And this is where sort of text formatting would come in. So if I right click edit sheet format, but you could see that the text updated to whatever material was in that part. So as long as I don't ever delete this text, I can make changes. I can change the font size to, make it smaller. That's still not small enough, but I can make it smaller. I can make these boxes bigger. I can change the alignment. As long as I don't delete that, that will always be linked and will always automatically update as I change my material. So accept my changes, that's in there. And again, I would do that because I'm picky. So I would set up this font so that it would fit, maybe the same size as this Word material. But that is basically how we get the title block to sort of automatically update. And now all I have to do to get this second title field again, file, properties, and this is a drawing property. So this is my title, right? It automatically updates as long as I don't delete the text or delete the whole text box. Um, Again, I can do the same thing. So if I defined an author, right? So if I were to go here and add a note, again, the note field is how we get these things in. I'm going to drop it up here for now, link to a property, the current document, and I'm going to grab the author because that's where I put my name. So that is how we sort of get those properties from our model and from our drawing file to automatically populate our text box. And again, it would be a long and even more boring video if I went through and formatted these as picky as I am, because I would even make this drawing. So drawing number by default is the file name. So if you're going to leave that text box and not change it, it will automatically for drawing number populate whatever the file name was. I saved this thing. If I go back to my model, I saved it as drawing plate. So that's what it's pulling in. That's the SolidWorks file name. So there's all kinds of other things that we can do to get those properties in. We can define a whole host of sort of automatic properties that we can use. So again, file, I'm on the part now, but file and properties under custom. And I mean, just looking, if I just change this drop down, there's a whole host of things that we can get, um, that we can get sort of this title block stuff to auto populate that we can pull from. Mass is a big one. You know, a lot of times we want to know what the thing's going to weigh when we're done. If we're, I mean, say 3D printing, volume could be a thing, right? It goes into how much we're going to use. We can throw all kinds of stuff in there. So hopefully that was helpful. That's how we get our sort of information populated in the title block on our drawing using a SolidWorks default drawing template. Keep an eye out in the future. I do plan on doing a video on how to sort of create our own title block, even though I'm kind of really happy that SolidWorks updated and, you know, included this one in the sort of default clean install. So again, hope that was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.